Our opening prayers. Let me share my screen and we will get underway. Give me a sec. People joining in. Okay, let me share my screen. We shall get started. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So let's get started with our opening prayers. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha. Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum. Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum. Radhe Radhe. Morning, good evening. Morning, good evening, everyone. So, very warm welcome to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. Able to hear me? Just give me a sec. So, let's get started with our Soul Soup segment, like we always do. Sec. All right. So, as part of this series, we are talking about problems. And we said that can we avoid problems in life? And the answer to that is, unsurprisingly, and overwhelming no. It is part and parcel of life. Okay, you cannot avoid problems. If you are thinking you can avoid problems, then it is wishful thinking. Right? There's an English proverb which says that if wishes were horses, beggars would ride. So there is no escape from problems whatsoever. Now that leaves us with only one option. Let's develop a perspective around problems in life and face them properly. So it is part and parcel of life. There's absolutely no running away from problems. In fact, we all have jobs because there are problems to solve. If there were no problems to solve, even having doing our job would also be unnecessary at that point, right? So this is part and parcel of life. We said expect problems. The way to in life, we need to expect preempt problems. It's not like, oh, this happened, and then we are like, okay, how did it come? We need to preempt problems, expect problems. Second is prepare for problems. Okay, that is another mindset we need to have. We need to prepare for problems. We cannot have a happy path thinking always. Like in IT also, when we do our testing, you don't necessarily look at the happy path testing. In quality assurance in QA, they look at testing doing destructive testing. What can go wrong? Not that happy path. It will be a perfect scenario. So prepare for problems. Today we are going to add on to it and say face the problem. Face the problem. How do we face the problem is what we are going to talk about, and put the problem in its proper perspective as well. Okay, we'll get into that, the perspective part of it. Now, when we say prepare for problems, right? Let's understand it. Prepare for problems means preempt it. Things can go wrong. Murphy law says if something could go wrong, it will go wrong. Don't always expect a perfect outcome, but that doesn't mean you keep on worrying about it, right? As there's a humorous story or a joke, so to say, that there was a couple who were sleeping in the night, and the wife said, "You know what? There is a burglar in our house." So husband, he woke up and rubbing his eyes. When he stopped rubbing his eyes, he just saw a revolver facing him. So apparently there was a burglar that day. So when he looked at that, he had to hand over the household items, valuables, so all the stuff that the burglar had taken, and he was about to leave. But before he was leaving, the husband said, "I have a request for you." He said, "What?" He said, "I would like you to come to my bedroom and meet my wife." He said, "Why?" He said, "She has been expecting you for the last 30 years. Every night she'll worry about the burglars." So that is not what it means by preempting or preparing for the problems, right? That is called unnecessary worrying. So when you say prepare for problems, how do we need to think things could go wrong, and that is how we need to plan for it. A lot of business, they are put out of business. Like yesterday I was talking about Motorola, it was put out of business because they could not anticipate there could be a technology disruptor that could come, and it can really flip your model upside down. So you need to be prepared around it, right? The good companies are the ones who are thinking ahead. What could possibly go wrong? Like there's a book called Who Moved My Cheese? Every moment somebody's moving your cheese. So we need to anticipate problems and not get zapped. Oh my God, where did it come from? So the first step in facing the problem is to accept that elephant in the room. There is a problem. Okay, there is a problem. And if you don't acknowledge that big elephant in the room, then that is called wishful thinking. It's like ostrich mentality where you stick its head into the sand and wish that the problem will go away. No, the first thing is to acknowledge the problem. Don't live in denial. There is no problem, right? So we need to acknowledge it, and then we need to devise a game plan to overcome it. We do not need to get terrified, with the prospect of facing an adversity. Rather, bring it on. We need to face it and have some kind of a devise a game plan around it. What can we do? What's the best we can do? Next thing is we need to put the problem in perspective. This is very important, to put it in perspective. The problem that I'm facing at this point, right? More often than not, our mind has a tendency to make a mountain out of a molehill, right? There are a lot of people who come and, they complain, "You know what? My spouse said harsh words to me," or "This person said so and so to me." No, no. Haji had said that 90% or 99% of the lack of peace in this world is only because of words, not even action, just words. Somebody said something to you, and now it has set you up on fire, basically. Now, if you think about it, if your spouse or somebody said harsh words to you, and now you said it has depressed me and are very upset about it, but is it a sufficient reason to feel upset about? Think of millions of soldiers who fought the Second World War. Are you fighting a battle like that? Are you in Afghanistan or Gaza Strip where you're not even sure you're going to live the next moment or not? So sometimes putting it in, those people, they were lying in trenches, their life were endangered, bullets flying all around, you know, and then those problems and our problems that we make such a big deal out of it, they are put in perspective. Yeah, there's a story that goes about it, right? There was a girl who wrote a letter to her mom. He said, "Dear mom, you know what? After a month, I had started staying in the hostel. She had gone to about boarding school. So she said, after I stole $50 from my friend's, from my roommate, and I rented a motorcycle with it. Unfortunately, when I was riding it, I crashed into a lamppost and fractured my leg. But no worries, mom. There was a very handsome doctor living down the lane who took me to his home and nursed me back to health. And I'm happy to inform you that we have fallen in love, but have decided to get married. Only problem is there is a disease showing up in the blood test. I hope it gets resolved before the child pops up." Okay, mom, after marriage, my husband to be will be coming to stay with dad and you because in nursing me, he lost his job. But mom, don't mind it. I'm sure you'll enjoy his company, even though he belongs to a different religion, and will keep trying to convert you. Okay. And really, mom. And then finally, mom was about to faint, as you can imagine, right? So much of information her daughter is still sharing. And she said, "Really, mom, none of this is true. The only thing that has happened is that I have failed in algebra. I just wanted to see this problem in proper perspective." So this is how it goes. Right? So there was a kid. He was a fourth grader, and he was very short build, and little weak as well. And he was one of the shortest in his class and would get bullied. He became a target of a ridicule, like it happens in the school, right? So his father returned home and he saw this guy looking at the street at a big the telescope, he reverted that telescope. Telescope, you see the things big. So he reverted the telescope and he was looking from the wrong end, right? So when his father asked that, why are you looking at from the wrong end, this person on the street, he said, I'm looking at my class bully standing in the street below. I just want to see him in proper perspective. So he reverted it. So similarly, we need to put our problems in perspective. First of all, we have to acknowledge it and face it. But more importantly, put it in perspective, because our mind has a tendency to make more, mountain out of a molehill. Small problems here and there, not small, I mean, we all have our share of problems in life, but if you really put it in perspective, it may seem insignificant when you put it in the real perspective around it. Now, we'll move on with this discussion tomorrow. How do we embrace hardships in life, and what is the scriptural or spiritual perspective around it as well? Nevertheless, we'll carry forward with that conversation today. Let's move on with our Bhagavad Gita. So we are on verse 5.5. Today we are going to talk about the secret sauce. We spoke about the concept of Karm Yoga and Karm Sanyas, and we said, in fact, they both are same. In a sense, they are both the same. So we will recap that conversation, and today we'll talk about what is the secret ingredient in both of these philosophies that we need to understand to put it in perspective. So I'm going to recite it, and you're welcome to follow along. Yat Sankhye Prapyate Sthanam तद्योगैरपि गम्यते एकं सांख्यं च योगं च यः पश्यति स पश्यति. All right, let's take a few hands.
Please turn on your cameras, but
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sam.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Sadhu.
Yat Sankhye Prapyate Sthanam Tadyogairapi Gamyate Ekam Sankhyam Cha Yogam Cha Yah Pashyati Sa Pashyati.
Very nice, thank you.
Go ahead, Shyamji.
Shamji.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you so much. Yat Sankhe Prapyate Sthanam Tad Yogerapi Gamyate Ekam Sankyam Cha Yogam Cha Yah Pashyati Sa Pashyati. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Sham se mila de. Thank you. All right, let's take the remaining hands.
Go ahead, Udayji.
राधे राधे यत् सांख्यै प्राप्यते स्थानं तद्योगैरपि गम्यते एकं सांख्यं च योगं च यः पश्यति स पश्यति. राधे राधे.
You, Udeji, Radhe Radhe. Let's take the remaining hands, if not faces.
Manisha Bhatia ji, go ahead, please.
Manisha
राधे
ji.
राधे यत्संख्ये प्राप्यते स्थानं तद्योगैरपि गम्यते एकं सांख्यं च योगं च यः पश्यति स पश्यति.
Very nice,
राधे
thank
राधे.
you. Let's freeze the number of hands. We have a bit of a discussion coming up.
Sure.
So take the faces before the hands.
Go ahead, Ramya ji.
राधे राधे यत् साङ्ख्यै प्राप्यते स्थानं तत् योगैरपि गम्यते एकं साङ्ख्यं च योगं च यः पश्यति स पश्यति. Thank you.
Sri Ramya, very nice. Thank you.
Sumeshi, go ahead, please.
Sumesh.
I am not able to unmute you, Sumeshi.
Okay, I tried, but
Yeah.
it looks like Sumesh ji is unmutable. So let's move on to the next hand.
Go ahead, Riya ji.
राधे राधे.
Radhe Radhe.
यत् साङ्ख्यै प्राप्यते स्थानं तद्योगैरपि गम्यते एकं साङ्ख्यं च योगं च यः पश्यति स पश्यति.
Very nice, thank you.
राधे
Yes.
राधे.
Last two hands.
Ramesh ji, go ahead, please.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. यत्साङ्ख्यैप्राप्यते स्थानं तद्योगैरपि गम्यते एकं साङ्ख्यं च योगं च यः पश्यति स पश्यति. Thank you.
Sumeshi, I'm sorry, I'm not able to unmute you. Sorry about that. Radhe Radhe, Sumeshi, are you able to unmute yourself?
Okay. Are we good then? I think, Sumesh, if there's some problem, we want to fix it before we move to our next segment. So let's get started. In this shloka, Lord Krishna is saying that supreme state that is attained by means of Karam Sannyas is also attained by working in devotion. Hence, those who see Karam Sannyas and Karam Yoga to be identical truly see things as they are. So after the extended discussion that we had on the topic of both Karam Yoga and Karam Sannyas, in this shloka, Lord is saying that actually essentially both are same. From externally speaking, they may look different. One is a monk, one might be a householder. But internally, both are same. And that is what we spoke about yesterday. I'm going to do a quick recap and then we continue on this discussion. What is the common day? So we said yesterday, there are tasks that we perform through our body. We have Karam Indriyas. So we perform tasks using our body. See, these are all things which happen automatically. But Lord Krishna, he is a master psychologist. He's actually breaking it down to the fundamental levels for us and saying this is how you work. And then he's getting into the deeper science of work. So there are tasks we do through our body. Every task we have to use our karmendriyas for that, right? Hand, feet, and all that stuff. Then there are tasks that we get accomplished through our senses as well, right? We are tasting, we're eating, and all that stuff. Now we said, and then there are tasks which are done through the mind itself. Mind is engaged regardless of what you are doing. But there could be thinking, just thinking aspect of it as well, where your body and senses are not involved. That is also karma. People think it's only when you do some act that is karma, but no. Any simulation, any thinking that you are doing is a karma as well. Okay, this is an important concept. Now, spiritually speaking, these two things that you do with your body and your senses, they don't count at all. No. Now you will say, no, I do this act. Why would you say it won't? It will count if your mind is engaged there as well, right? Depending upon what your mind is thinking or doing, that will count as a karma, right? For example, using your hand, you might be driving a car and you may run it over somebody. Now, what kind of a karma would it be? In the material world, the judge would try to establish what your intention or the motive behind that was, right? If the motive was not to kill somebody, he'll absolve you. So what we do from our body and our senses, it doesn't count. It does not count it's a zero karma. What is actually going on in our head when we engage our senses and mind, or we may not even engage it. We might be just doing work with our mind. It is the only thing that counts as a karma. Now you would ask why it would be the case, because mind is the governor of our senses. So let's say you see something. When you see something, that in itself is not an activity. Okay, I can see, but it cannot analyze and think. So the mind is actually doing the activity around seeing, interpreting it, and making a choice around it, right? So I in itself is it's just giving you a sight, but then when it gets processed and you do something with that sight, right? Now that ability is there, whether you want a Netflix flick or something that is good for your uh, inner growth, the choice is always there, right? But that is where your mind is getting involved. And that is essentially what counts in spirituality as well, right? God is seated within the Kshirodakshay Vishnu, so to say, Paramatma is noting down where your mind is. What you are doing through your senses does not count anything at all. Does not matter what you are doing. But where your mind is, that is what truly matters or gets counted. Even in devotion, for that matter, there are two kinds of devotions. One is called sasang, one is called anasang. Anasang is when you do it only using your indriyas, your senses or your body. Like for example, we do the temple, we go do this, we'll do that. Done for the devotion. If your mind is not engaged, it is called anasanga bhakti. It is a multiplication with zero, does not count at all. But if your mind is engaged in that activity, that is called sasanga bhakti. And then that is what truly counts and gives you the spiritual benefit around it. And what is the spiritual benefit? It cleanses. us from within. What does it cleanse? Antakaran. What is Antakaran? It is a four things basically. It comprises of four things: Man, Buddhi, Chitta, and Ahankar. When cleansing happens, what happens? It becomes a fertile ground for noble thoughts, clear thoughts, and uplifting thoughts. Otherwise, we in our factory, mind is a factory which can generate around 40 to 60,000 thoughts throughout the day, and most of them you don't have any control over. And most of it is weeds, basically, right? So this is the benefit of cultivating a right mind. So mind is the true worker. And then we said these are the sides of the two coin. Mind, our Panchadashi scriptures say, is the cause of bondage and it is the cause of liberation. Fixing the mind is the only purpose, objective, mission, vision statement from a spiritual perspective as well. The mind, it could lead you to bondage, which is essentially what is happening. That is why as spirit souls, we keep rotating in 8.4 million. It is a cause of bondage because we are not intellectually convinced that the true happiness that we are seeking is not actually in this world, as our scriptures are saying. So we keep seeking it in this world through our relations, through money, through acquisitions and all that stuff. And until that pursuit continues, it will continue to be a cause of bondage. And the mind alone is the cause of liberation as well, as you see that. And Maharaji has also said that very clearly. Bondage and liberation depend upon the state of the mind. And mind has to be basically tended to, looked after, cultivated and cleansed. And that is the whole objective of spirituality as well. So Antakaran Shuddhi, cleansing of mind, which is the most difficult job, is the only purpose or the agenda of human life. Okay. Now let's move on and understand it from perspective of Karam Yoga and Karam Sanyas. But then mind, let me continue on this topic. I'll illustrate a couple of stories around it to drive home the point here. Now you see on your screen, a sec. So there was an author, his name was, there was a writer, he wrote a bhashya, Bhamati Bhashya, I believe, of Vedant. His name was Vachaspati Mishra. Okay, so once Vachaspati Mishra, in the middle of his writing, he looked up and there was a lady he saw like next to him, okay, with a lantern or something. So this guy asks him, "Who are you?" So she says, "I'm your wife." He said, "Okay, really? When did we marry?" She said, 50 years back. He said, "Really? And how are we sustaining ourselves?" She said, I do some house help and that is how we do that. He said, "How am I eating?" He said, "I would simply put out a plate. You would do that and put it back there." And then this guy is astonished, Vachaspati Mishra. Okay, he said that, "How come you have been living like this for so long and still putting up with me? This is unbelievable." And because he had written Vedanta Bhashya, Bhamati Bhashyakar, he was known as, popularly. So he said that, I've written that, but she has been living that all her life. So she said, "How did you put up?" She said, "It's better to lead a life, much better than to lead. It's blessed to have a noble soul like you and that opportunity to serve a noble soul like you as opposed to leading a, mundane cats and dogs life." That is what she said. So the point is, this guy was so occupied in his work that it never registered to him that it's pretty exaggerated when you look at it, but it's a fact. Actually, you can go and check it out. It actually happened. But why? Because his mind was completely absorbed in his work. That is basically how powerful our engagement of mind could be and what truly counts. There's another story I will tell you about this painter. So this painter was doing a painting and the procession of Jagannath Yatra, it passed by him. It passed by him and somebody came, a traveler came and somebody asked him, did you see that procession going past the Jagannath Yatra? He said, "No, it did not." So another guy said, why did you lie? "We just saw it going 5 minutes back." Painter said, "It never got registered." He was so absorbed in his work, it did not get registered to him as well. So you are where your mind is. That is the key thing, not what you are physically doing or what you are. So you are where your mind is the key message. how our mind can be absorbed in something, and that is what gets noted from a spiritual perspective, not the activity as such that you are doing. Okay. A lot of things might be happening around you, but what is getting registered in your mind, what your mind is thinking, that is something that gets counted, and not the physical activity that you are doing. Again, I'll tell you that story, one of my favorite stories around Guru Gobind Singh Ji, where he was fighting the battle. And, when he was fighting the battle with an adversary soldier, finally, when the soldier was at his mercy, he was about to slay him, this guy spit back at him. Now, normal course, you would feel enraged and kill him immediately, but then at that very moment, he left him, he spared him. So when he was asked, why did you spare him when he was at your mercy, he said, previously I was fighting him as a matter of duty. But when he spit back at me, I became enraged. Anger overcame me. And if I had killed him in that consciousness in my mind, I would have incurred a sin. So similarly, where your mind is, what consciousness you are carrying while performing that activity, that matters, not the actual activity. That is the key message. And that is what that implies to devotion aspect as well. So let's continue to build on that. I'll tell you. So this is where you have a monk and you have a person, right? So one could be Karam Yogi and one could be Karam Sannyasi. But if they have a common denominator, which is thinking the pleasure of God, why are you doing something? Is it for my own sensory gratification or for the pleasure of God? That that is the common denominator. So really doesn't matter what you are doing or what kind of externals do you have. It's your inner software that that actually determines your spiritual trajectory, so to say. And that is precisely the reason why Lord Krishna is saying that both Karam Yoga and Karam Sannyas are identical, because the inner mechanics around it are same. They both have a common goal. One might be doing it in a worldly thing or being a householder or maybe a king or something. Other is doing it by renouncing those actions as well. You cannot renounce it prematurely. You can do it only under the expert guidance of a guru, only if you have developed sufficient detachment from the world. But that doesn't mean you cannot progress being a householder or leading a normal life with a proper science understanding around your actions. Then it will give you the similar result as well. And that is essentially what Lord Krishna is explaining in the shloka. Both are identical. There's absolutely no difference. Now let's wear our thinking caps and get this going. Now, for you to think, this concept itself is very, um, it's like, what does it mean? You think about God, right? It doesn't jive when you hear it for the first time. Now, let's understand, come to this uh, discussion. Let's get our thinking caps on and get this discussion going. So let me ask, what occupies our mind space naturally? Anybody? What would occupy our mind space naturally? It's like your mind space is occupied. You don't have to put effort. It's like it gravitates towards it. The neural channels are formed around it. What would enable that? Anybody? Yes, Sandhya?
Attachment.
Attachment. That's right. Anybody else who wants to add something to it? Yeah. Yes, Samiran?
It depends on the individual that what one has practiced all his life thinking about.
So so basically, why would you practice something? Give me an example. Why would you practice something? Anything that occupies your mind, there has to be some kind of a hook to that, right? Some kind of attraction towards it, some kind of attachment towards it, some kind of, uh, you know, some kind of feeling towards it, right? That it is going to give me happiness, or it is important, or it is valuable, or something like that, right? Mhm.
Yeah.
Jyoti, maybe one more hand and then we'll continue, because I'm going to build on this discussion. This is basically going to explain us the concept that this whole concept of bringing God to mind and stuff like that, how to enable that. Yes, Jyoti, you wanted to add something?
Radhe Radhe Nitinji, whatever our senses are exposed to be, and wherever we feel that happiness lies. So suppose if we keep on watching, I'm giving an example because you asked. If we keep on watching Netflix and we feel like there is happiness, So that's what will roam around all over the day in our head.
True. Why would you watch it's a good thing that you brought up. Why would you watch Netflix?
Thinking that it will take me away from the world and will bring happiness to me.
Okay. So your mind, you're intellectually convinced this will give me happiness, right?
Yes, yes.
And when you
Yes.
spend a lot of time, of course, it will take away your take your mind space. Great. Good, good.
Yeah. Thank
Good
you.
point.
Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Jyoti. Pooja, please go ahead. We'll give preference to faces before hands. Yes, Pooja. Please go
Radhe
ahead.
Radhe Nitin Bhaiya. I don't know whether this happens to others or not, but ever since I've become a mother, I kind of get a lot of negative thoughts, for my baby and also for my family members. And the moment I get those thoughts, I just start, doing Nam Jap. So I don't know if this could help, but is this what, you could also give me some guidance for?
So negative thoughts basically because of your attachment, right?
Right.
That something bad should not happen to them and negative things will come.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's your attachment and that deep-rooted love, right? It's grounded in that rooted love where um, those kind of thoughts can come up where you just wish them well and you in a way you want to avoid that situation or something like that where you think some harm might be brought upon them, right? So you want to stay with, but it's your deep-rooted love, affection, care, and attachment, right? That is leading you to that.
Right.
Fair point.
Okay.
Yes. Chandruji, you wanted to add something?
Radhe Radhe. Material desires.
Desires. Yes,
yes.
material desires. Where are desires stemming from? Let's go fundamentally take a step back. Desires are stemming from craving for this. Why would you desire something?
Shopping.
No, shopping does not give you happiness. It's basically the fact that what you're going to get out of that shopping will give you happiness, right? That is what is driving shopping itself, right? Money does not give us happiness. What money can buy or give us.
Okay.
Intellectually, you are thinking this thing is going to give me happiness, right? That is why you're going after that. It could be shopping, it could be something else, right?
Right.
Fair point. Yes, Chandruji. Yes, Abhinav. And then we'll take Gupchandji real quick. Yes, Abhinav.
Rather than thinking. So I think mind will be more towards the things what we love or things things what we love to do, and we think that that pleasure is what we are looking for.
True. So basically your whatever your value system tells you is important is going to give me happiness, is going to give me kick in life. That is where your mind will automatically go towards, right?
Right.
So anything that we are attached to, we are in love with, we form some kind of a neural networks towards that. Automatically, the mind will, you don't have to put in an effort. It will automatically go there because your mind and intellect are telling you this thing is going to give me happiness. This thing is going to give me happiness. It is repeated so many times that you don't even have to put an effort. It'll automatically go there, right? Like Pooja was saying, when you have a baby, all your thoughts will flow automatically towards that little baby because now you have formed that deep rooted love and affection and care for that baby. So all that a mother can think of is the baby and baby itself. It happens all by itself very naturally. Yes, Gupchandji, you wanted to add something?
Please go ahead.
Yes. Yes. So Radhe, nice to be back again. My thoughts would be that's been plaguing is lust. With lust, everything falls and draws your attention to it. Also, I can't turn on my camera because it's disabled by the.
Oh, you want to turn on your camera?
Yeah, I can't.
Okay, there you go then. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Right. That's what I want to say. Lust is another huge thing that draw our attention to and disrupt our thoughts, and hence not able to focus to be when you want to do any kind of sadhana, because you're so distracted with all of this. Radhe.
All right. So yeah, I think thank you, Gupchandji. So what occupies our mind space naturally, anything that we are attached to, we are in love with. I hope we are all in alignment with that. Now, and what is the manifestation of love? When you love somebody, how does it manifest? Yes, Sandhya, go ahead.
Service.
Yeah, so when you love somebody, you do something for them, right? That is how the manifestation of love is. You take care of them, you do something for them, you want to do something for them. It's not like you simply digest love and sit idle. You want to do something for them as well. And what is the symptom of love? Now, there are some unintended results of, when we have a deep-rooted affection for somebody as well, we fear for them. It can build some anxiety for us as well, right? Thinking of negative scenarios and stuff like that as well. But let's say, and we take away all that aspect of it. One is the symptom of love. What is one thing that happens when you feel that deep, deep emotion around it? Yes, Jyoti, go ahead. I think you are an expert in that, so please go ahead and tell us that.
Radhe Radhe, it's a longing for that, for your beloved.
Longing, that's a good word you used. Yes, Abhinav?
I
Abhinav?
was it's being more protective and caring.
Caring, protective, yeah. That is true there as well. Symptom of love, yeah. Yes, Sandhya?
Seeking the pleasure of your beloved.
Now you're getting into the topmost definition of love here. Huh? Very nice. Seeking the pleasure of the beloved. Yes, Monica ji?
Sandhya has told my answer. Radhe Radhe.
All
No,
right.
but then another thing is, you want to make them happy.
Yeah. So yes, I think one of the word that came, longing. Longing happens, right? When you love somebody, you just want to meet them. That longing, that vyakulta, that restlessness would manifest. You want to meet them, especially if they are not there, right? So longing, don't go by the long neck here, but you got the gist of it, right? Now, the point here is, when we talk about this concept of Karam Yoga or Karam Sanyas, right? Unless we have built a relationship, we have intellectually digested this concept of God, it's not going to happen all by itself. Okay. And one of the things, like Swamiji so beautifully explains it, when you truly understand the definition of God, you will automatically fall in love with Him. See, anything that fulfills our self-interest, we automatically gravitate towards that thing, right? For example, if let's say you make a friends with somebody who's very powerful, not a president of USA, I would say, maybe somebody who's influential, maybe a senator, or maybe a big wig in your company, you automatically start getting a bit of attracted towards that personality. Oh my God, he can do that. He's a big influencer, this, that, right? We see in the world. And here is an entity that we're talking, God, right? Who is going to fulfill our self-interest, and that too in a manner which is permanent, right? This quest for bliss that we have in the material world, he's actually capable of quenching that thirst forever and making it a sweeter experience down the line as well, right? So only when we understand the definition of God and what he's capable of doing for us, we'll automatically fall in love with us, right? Because who will not fall in love with something which is going to fulfill our self-interest, and that too selflessly? So understanding the definition of God itself will bring in that clarity. Now, the first step is that when we start falling in love, or when we start building that rapport with God, then only He will start occupying your mind space. It's not going to happen just like that. With an abstract entity, with some kind of an impersonal entity, it is not going to happen. So that final end state, or the aspirational state that Lord Krishna is talking about in Bhagavad Gita, Sarveshu Kaleshu. If you have to reach to that stage, we have to start building that thing ground up, where we need to inculcate those sentiments and build that sentiment, that bhav, that okay, God is there, He's both my witness and my protector. Unless we understand the theory and philosophy behind it, it's not going to happen. We cannot bring, some impersonal entity which we don't have any connect with, nor do we understand the value of it, into the mix of our work for anything and everything. It's not going to happen automatically. And when it starts happening, that 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 love aspect for the love grows for God, that mind space will automatically start happening. You'll start occupying your mind space for majority part of it, or but depending upon how much love we are able to inculcate. And of course, manifestation of love will get in form of seva. Seva could be direct seva when we get employed by Krishna himself, right? A lot of people, they renounce their activities and simply work for God. You see so many ISKCON devotees do that, and even in Arketi temple, there are a lot of examples, people who have dedicated their life for that work. That is, of course, there. But in your day-to-day life, God has given you the privilege or the opportunity to do Karam Yoga. Now, rather than seeking it for your own self, that, okay, let me earn more so that I can give more, not let me earn more so that I can enjoy more. That mindset is always there. That is essentially what Bhagavad Gita is talking about. Or thinking about, gifting back your skills back to, it could be in terms of offering it back to people, helping spread the message, or helping out people, or doing that seva in an indirect manner. That is essentially what Karam Yoga is, because now you are bringing God into the equation, not just limiting yourself to your own sensory gratification alone. And that is how what happens, right? Typically when we work, we get the paycheck, we enjoy, and it's all limited to our sensory gratification alone and nothing beyond that. That basically constitutes a binding karma. And as the love starts progressing, the natural manifestation of that is the longing. Now you want to know more about it. Now you want to experience the higher truths. You really want to experience his presence as well. Those kind of things will automatically happen. And this is really illustrated beautifully through this story. If you think about it, there was a tribal in Sundargarh, in the village of Odisha, who always wanted to go to the Rath Yatra of Lord Jagannath in Puri. So as the luck would have it, every time he would make a plan, program would get cancelled. Again, he will make a plan, Rath Yatra comes, it would get cancelled. And then he thought that Jagannath ji, grace is not on me. I'm so wretched and so fallen. Every time it will just. And so the 40th year in success, he had to wait for 40 years. It never happened. So when his plan got cancelled, he started weeping. The local Pandit says, do one thing, I've been going for the last 40 years. Now, Pandit would get that opportunity to go every year. 40 years he continued to go there, and this guy would miss out on every year. And this year too. And he said, let's do this trade. You take the punya and fruit of all the 40 visits that I've made to Jagannath Puri. You give me the yearning, the vyakulta, or the longing that we are talking about, that you have to see Jagannath. You give it back to me, and I'm more than happy to swap that or trade it with you. So this is the real thing, the yearning that we inculcate on this path. That is the essence. And you may do all the puja and everything, but if you don't have the yearning, you don't have any love, you don't have any faith, it's a pointless exercise. Doesn't take you much. But it will only happen when we understand the deeper theory behind it, and we start experiencing aspects of it in our real life and start reaping the benefits out of it. It's not going to happen out automatically, because these are deeper concept, right? We don't see God. It's an abstract entity for us. But when you start following the spiritual principles, start putting into practice some of the Bhagavad Gita teachings, and when you start realizing it for yourself, then automatically your faith will get reinforced and the journey starts becoming sweeter around it. But this yearning or the longing aspect is the real symptom of love. If your longing is increasing, that means you are on this path. That means you're already getting closer to Sarveshu Kaleshu principle. That means you're already subscribing to Karam Yoga or the Karam Sanyas, where your mind is attached to God in whatever you do. So this is the key thing, a good yardstick for us to see how much we are progressing in Karam Yoga. Or if you're on Karam Sanyas, okay, Karam Sanyas anyway, it's not very common. It is only for selected few, that too under the expert guidance of a guru, but Karam Yoga is pretty much eligible for everybody. Now, are we truly doing Karam Yoga? Well, the first test for that is, do you get stressed when you do some work for a particular outcome? If you get stressed, that means it's a self-interest, selfish interest at play. You're not truly doing Karam Yoga, right? And the second part of it is, are you too much focused on the outcome aspect of it, or you focus the process itself, right? So these are some of the yardsticks you can employ. And the third thing is how frequently how frequently you are able to bring God into the mix in your day-to-day routine. When you do any work, or when you succeed, or when you fail, What is your perspective around it, right? Are you able to have an acceptance around it, or you whine for a while in your mind? And if you whine for a while, how quick is your recovery? So these are some of the yardstick we can employ to see how well we are progressing on the path of Karma Yoga. Okay, with that said, I'll take a quick pause and open it up for any questions you may have on what we have discussed today. And tomorrow we will talk about, is mere renunciation good enough for us to realize God? If we talk about renunciation, sacrifice and all that stuff, just mere renunciation, is that good enough or not? We'll continue on that topic tomorrow. Any questions on what we have spoken about today? Pin drop silence, and then one hand will be raised, and then four more will be raised. So who's going to be the first hand? Nobody, yeah? Too much to digest? Yes, Abhinav. Go ahead, please.
I was thinking, like, we have all this Bhagavad Gita information and all from very long time. So how come, at least from India, like people became so ignorant? I mean, how did they, deviate from their path? And I'm just asking question to myself, actually, just wanted to put it down. Like, how come everybody came into this ignorance path and, nobody is focusing or getting knowledge from Bhagavad Gita?
True. So there are multiple reasons for that, right? One part of it is that even though we have this knowledge, how many of us actually get to read Bhagavad Gita? Just honestly ask people, how many of them have actually tried reading Bhagavad Gita and not made it a retirement plan only? And even in retirement, they will not. So first part is we don't prioritize it. Second is it is not systematically integrated in our education system like it used to be in Gurukul Pratha, where this information and knowledge was imparted early on to everybody. When Britishers came, they systematically broke the backbone of our education system by taking away this part, Gurukul Pratha part of it. It has not been re-established as yet. Third part of it is uh, it's purely a lack of what you call that ignorance part of it, like they call diya tale andhera. We are sitting on a gold mine and yet not able to appreciate it, right? That is also a reason for that. Fourth is even if you know it is important, we still don't get to it because of our sanskars and stuff like that. It's like you go to a city and you see a lot of people with big beards and you conclude there are no barbers in this world, right? In the city, not, they have chosen not to go to a barber. It doesn't mean there are no barbers, right? No offense to people who have beard, okay? But the point here is, so there are multiple reasons for that. It just because you have access to a knowledge does not mean you are going to go and get the import of it and take benefit from it. There are multiple reasons for that. And also the fact that unfortunately our curriculum or educational system has limited it to only moral science aspect of it, which is probably not even a 1/4 of a shloka of Bhagavad Gita. And people think that is all that is there to be known. So multiple reasons for that. And then other part of it is even Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna has said that Bahu Janmante, after a lot of multiple lifetimes, and Sahasreshu, he's used the word that it's a, you know, out of millions, very few actually get on this path. And out of those millions, very few actually try to understand it properly. And out of those millions, very few actually get to read it and practice it on a day-to-day basis. And out of that, only few understand the truth. So there's a law of diminishing return at play anyways, right? So you need to have a lot of good sanskars, past sadhana, and exercise of free will, and that spark and coming in contact with a true saint for you to, a lot of factors have to converge for you to get the import of this message. It's not just, it's near and yet so far. You can
And
ask
like,
how many would prioritize out of 7 billion people here to read Bhagavad Gita? We are one of those fortunate ones, I would say, in that sense. Yeah.
and I think it becomes more difficult to practice all the spiritual practices what we are doing, because there are very few people out there who are following the dharma and proper rules and regulations.
It is easy actually, if you ask me, it is easy because it is more natural to the soul to align to principles that satiates it. It's the lack of better word, it's just ignorance which is leading us to a more difficult path. You think it's easy to live a life, treacherous life in the material world where we are getting slapped every second moment? That is more difficult. But if you add this dimension to life, much more easy and enjoyable and pleasurable. But people don't understand it. They don't get that part. They
Yeah.
continue to choose that difficult, stressful, worried life, and that the entire life passes by, but they're still not able to make this a priority
Right.
because of ignorance and because of lack of exposure, I would say, because they haven't tasted the sweetness and the benefit of it. There could be multiple reasons for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for
It makes your
clarifying.
life. It makes your
Thanks
life easy.
for clarifying that. No, I was thinking it was difficult, but yeah, as you just put down in simple words, it makes me feel no, it's not that difficult actually.
Think of it like if a person is wearing a old worn out shoe, is that more painful or somebody wearing a very comfortable new shoes? This is wearing a comfortable new shoe. But we are used to or habituated of wearing an old worn out torn shoe and bearing the pain out of it. And that is what the life is without spiritual dimension added to it. But people they think there is no other. I mean, it's like the whole world is doing that, so they don't know anything better. I would say it's the ignorance aspect of it which leads to that thing, right? Even in our scriptures, Veda Vyas says, "Ajnanam evasya mool karanam." Ignorance is the root cause of all the afflictions that are afflicting human or humanity or mankind. And all those afflictions, we continue to deal with it, but then we don't want to take the medicine because either we are not aware of it or we don't have the sufficient faith or intellectual conviction to even try out something different, right? So medicine is right available, but it's a lack of willingness on our part because of various reasons. Yeah. All right, let's move to Keshavji. Keshavji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Abhinav asked a good question, and it's the most important question.
Mhm.
अभी से मैं लेता हूँ आगे अभिमान, ईगो. What is अभिमान? ये मेरा है, ये भी मेरा है, ये भी मेरा है. This is मान लेना, जबकि मेरा वास्तव में कुछ भी नहीं है. ये शरीर भी मेरा नहीं है. Even this body is not mine. What to talk of other things? Now, आपने मेंशन किया बहुनाम जन नाम अंते ज्ञानवान नाम पर बध्यते. इस श्लोक का मतलब क्या है? बहुनाम जन, जन नाम, नाम का जन्म और जन्म के नाम. मनुष्य लोक में हमारे मनुष्य शरीर के बहुत नाम होते हैं और बाकी जो जन्म होते हैं उनमें जन्म का नाम होता है, जैसे कीड़ा, पतंगा, कुत्ता, बिल्ली. वो तो क्या मतलब, इस जन्म में मैं मनुष्य हूँ, अगला जन्म हु नोस क्या बनेगा. अगर मान लो मनुष्य बन गया तो ठीक है, अदरवाइज व्हाट विल हैपन. ये जो दो हाथ है ना, ये पांव बन जाएंगे और कुत्ता, बिल्ली, शेर, हाथी कुछ भी बन जाएंगे. और वो नहीं हुआ तो ये जो हाथ हैं पंख बन जाएंगे. फिर बनोगे पक्षी, उड़ोगे भैया, उड़ते रहो. कहाँ उड़ारी मारनी है, ईगल बन जाओ, मोर बन जाओ, तोते बन जाओ, रंग बिरंगे. एनीवे, कमिंग टू द पॉइंट, ये जो खेल है बड़ा सुंदर है बहुत. हाँ, द क्वेश्चन वाज व्हाई वी डोंट रीड इट. आई एम सॉरी टू से, आई एम रियली सॉरी विद ड्यू रिस्पेक्ट टू ऑल आवर स्पिरिचुअल टीचर्स एंड आई कॉल देम स्पिरिचुअल लीडर्स. दे आर नॉट यूनाइटेड. व्हाई? वन से अद्वैतवाद, अदर से द्वैतवाद, थर्ड से द्वैतवाद. Come on. This Bhagavad Gita is teaching us Advaitvad. And once you deep dive into this, everything is clear. I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever. Now, I'm not working for myself. I like, my goodness. हमारे स्वामी जी को तो बहुत बार सुना है, महाराज जी को बहुत सुना मैंने. वो कहते थे कभी मेडिटेशन में आंसू बहाए कि भगवान मुझे बताओ ये क्या है. और अब वास्तविकता क्या है कि हमें कुछ नहीं करना. भगवान हर जन्म हमारी इच्छा पूर्ति के कारण वो इस ब्रह्मांड में हमारे इच्छाएं पूर्ति करते रहते हैं. और द डे वी रियलाइज दिस, मैंने 2-3 स्वामियों से पूछा है, व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन मोक्ष एंड मुक्ति. The question, if I go very clearly, the question was, मोक्ष एंड मुक्ति ये दो अलग आइटम्स हैं, दोनों एक ही की होनी है या अलग अलग दो की होनी है? Nobody answered, but in meditation I got the answer. मोक्ष मनुष्य का होना है मनुष्य जीवन में, और मुक्ति ये जो कारण शरीर है, काजल बॉडी, इसको फिर वापस परम धाम जाना है, ना तो सूक्ष्म शरीर में जाना है, नीदर स्थूल स्थूल शरीर में जाना है। स्थूल शरीर तो जल जाएगा या पानी में बहा देंगे या मिट्टी में गाड़ देंगे, स्थूल शरीर तो फॉरगेट इट। सूक्ष्म शरीर भी इस ब्रह्मांड को पार करके नहीं जाता। ओनली कैजुअल बॉडी, आत्मा केम, adopted the body, and that has to go back. That's the खेल, लीला.
Thank you, Keshav.
Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Keshav ji. Yeah, I just want to briefly touch upon that aspect of diversity in the philosophies part of it. There's a reason for that. When the teachers come, they cater to the audience. So let's say you have to explain a big elephant. They may pick up one perspective based on the audience because it's a function of Desh, Kal, Patra, Niyam, right? So who's the audience? What are the times, recipients? What is appropriate for that, right? So they do it very strategically. So the teacher may be a PhD, but he is teaching a student who's in elementary. They will tell them, the basic rules of arithmetic and algebra, and then the next teacher will come and build on top of it. So that is how typically all the spiritual masters have come in and propagated their message. The problem happens when their sampradayas, they start following that message and start rejecting the other messages. And that is where Maharaj came and he reconciled every philosophy, right? So there's a reason for that. But yeah, if you go Dvaitvad, Vishishta Dvaitvad, Dvaita Dvaitvad, actually it can all be reconciled. And if you listen to Maharaj's philosophy, you will not find any loose ends there at all, right? But nevertheless, good discussion. Yes, Sanjay, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. So, just to add to this discussion, that like personally for me, I did come across Bhagavad Gita before attending these sessions, but I could not understand that it is this much logical. So from that perspective, I couldn't have understood that our Vedic wisdom is very, very logical unless I was introduced to how beautifully Maharaji has explained it, and it has come to us through these daily wisdom from Bhagavad Gita classes, right? So getting that guru is a big blessing, and that I think uh, fills all these gaps of getting the knowledge and right knowledge at the right time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you will. I myself, before coming in contact with this philosophy, tried Bhagavad Gita, could not go past 30 pages. But now things have just started falling in place, after I started reading Swamiji's book and Maharaj's philosophy. It's like so structured, so logical, and any thinking, rational, logical mind cannot negate that logic. It's like everything falls in place. And if you are from an engineering temperament, you have an analytical bent of mind, philosophical bent of mind, whichever angle you come from, everything is catered to a manner that will satiate you. You will not say there are loose ends. No, 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 this doesn't make it will make sense. So compelling that logic is, and that is the beauty of this message, right? And like I keep on saying, the proof is in the pudding. You understand this, continue with it, apply it, and if you don't see the benefit, reject it. And there is no reason why you won't see the benefit, right? This is how powerful this knowledge is. Yes, Mitaji. Thank you, Sandhya, for reiterating that. By the way, coming in from Sandhya, she's our PhD and postdoc, so you can, she can appreciate logic. So thank you for reiterating that. Yes, Smitaji, please go ahead. Smitaji, please.
I'm not able to unmute.
Okay, then let me
me,
try. Okay, I think she's also unmutable today. Maybe
Unmute.
you can retry joining and then we'll see. Pratyusha, go ahead, please.
Smitaji, you can put it in the chat window. I can read.
Yeah, something is not right. Pratyusha, are you?
Go
Are
ahead,
you?
Pratyusha ji.
Yeah, I can unmute you. Yes, Pratyusha, go ahead.
Yeah, I was thinking about the discussion, and one thing that came into my mind is how important it is for one person to develop focus. So that connecting with Varnashram system, that is when we are like, when one says that they are Brahmins, they are actually intellectually very, very strong. Second category is Kshatriyas. They want to do actions, lot of actions. Third is Vaishnavas. They want to create opportunities, make money. And finally, the Shudras, they're physically very fit. So how all of them can, come to this path is what I thought was like for a Shudra, because everybody is of same age. There is no small person, having less, but intellectually, there will be the variation will be there, right? Even all the lokas, all the planets, everybody has same age. From that, so when we are in Shudra, like in that physically, strong, so probably that person should do more of yogas to align their energies in and develop the focus. The second category, Vaishnavas, they should probably they are making money. They should do more seva, dan, and come to this mark. Kshatriyas, more karma yoga, and intellectually, they should, they are already there, in that focus area, so they just have to. So all of this process, if you'll follow, you will reach there. If you'll not follow, you'll always be, distracted in various. And if you have the focus in whichever mark you're doing, if you develop that focus, then it's just, about time that some right company or right things happen, and you can just, grab it. But if you don't have the focus, you will not reach there. So that's what I thought.
Sure, Pratyusha. Yes, focus is very important, and regardless of what station of life you are in, this science is available to everyone, right? That science of working, keeping the big picture in mind, and working for the pleasure of God is accessible to all of us. And Lord Krishna has explained it so beautifully. And then he's going to continue to reiterate that concept throughout. So very nice. Continue with that. Yes, Monica ji, you wanted to add that. Thank you, Pratyusha, for your insights on this. Yes, Monica ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, just one small point, Nitinji. I think grace, grace matters a lot. You have grace, you're there. Because I got married in a Marwadi family where they had Laddu Gopalji already, and seva for Laddu Gopalji. I did not really connect it to Krishna at that time, and because I come from a family where Mahadev Bhakti is prachand. So when this was happening at that time, I was like, okay, I was doing it as a ritual because my mother-in-law used to do it. Ask me now, I would not eat what I don't offer to Krishna. So it's grace. It's definitely grace, and it grows over time. So do good karma, and then grace will happen. This is just my 2 cents, my personal experience.
Yes, I think very true. Grace is definitely the secret sauce around enabling a lot of that part as well. In fact, even understanding Bhagavad Gita is also enabled through grace. God
Yeah.
only allows us to understand, and then only it works that way, right? I think Mahashivratri is coming, so maybe we can tackle that topic of gods, multiple gods, and that can confuse a lot of people, right? One of the things that are not properly understood about Sanatan Dharam is polytheism and stuff like that. So we can talk about that, and maybe this aspect of grace that you spoke about. It's a very, very important concept. So we'll touch upon that in Mahashivratri and tackle this question of multiple gods and this god and that god, right? Which can confuse people, and the diversity in unity and unity in diversity aspect of it. But yeah, grace is the key thing for sure. But in order to draw grace, we have to form that eligibility, right? And how do we form that eligibility is all basically the spiritual practice that we can do, and that increase our faith and surrender around it as well, right? So we'll continue to talk about this topic in more detail. Great point. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, Samiran. Maybe we can take two hands and then we move to our next segment. Yes, Samiran, please.
Radhe Radhe. I just wanted to ask that how does God sits within us? Like he definitely, but
He takes.
yeah, because one thing is the mind, which tells us different sorts of things every moment. Another thing is intellect. It guides us that like this is right or wrong. Don't do it, but
True.
still it's our choice. We do it or not.
True.
what is beyond intellect,
True.
or if
Tomorrow, we will talk about it tomorrow. In fact, I have a slide dedicated to this topic only. Okay, we'll talk about this hierarchy of proximity that we have and where does God fit in inside us. We will talk about that. So stay tuned for the next session. But you said, how does God sit within us? I can answer you briefly. He takes a chair and then turns our back. Not we turn our back towards him, and that's how he sits. Okay, but tomorrow we will talk about this topic and go through the hierarchy of our how God is positioned within us and what is our relationship with him. We will be able to appreciate that. So please do join tomorrow's session. We're going to have a very fascinating discussion around this topic. Okay, and you will be able to think and be able to relate to the concept that we're going to talk about. How does our self-interest work, you know starting with people around us, the whole world, our near and dear ones, our own body, our mind, our intellect, and what goes beyond that, our soul, and then the super soul. Will go through that entire hierarchy tomorrow. Good question though, Simran, but let's reserve it for tomorrow. I don't want to spill the beans today on that. Yes, Sandhya.
So there is this comment from Komaldi, like Nitin ji always says, हम जानते हैं पर मानते नहीं. We still consider ourselves as a body and act that all these material things will give us happiness. We don't understand what is the true purpose of this life.
No, we know it conceptually. We know, see, knowing and believing, they are different, right? Like in Hindi, say, hum jante hain, mante nahi. That is what Maharaj ji used to say, right? That is the whole battle, basically, that the gap that we are trying to bridge through this repeated contemplation of knowledge. So we know we are a soul, but we don't have the conception as yet to truly believe, right? We still consider ourselves as this body-mind complex. But yeah, that's the journey. It's a journey. It's not a unit step function. So we are on it. We will get there. That's the hope. I think our understanding of this concept has it has progressed significantly since we started on this journey, and it'll only going to get better from here on.
A
Yeah,
quick
and
Go ahead, Sandhya.
just to add to what Monica Di had said, like, yeah, actually getting a guru is also not possible without grace of God, right? So that itself is the biggest grace.
True. Sometimes you get grace because of your sanchit karmas. So it's like you were on, you had accumulated 8 points or 98 marks, and then you got 2 more marks and you got that right when you hit that 100 mark or whenever, whatever that threshold was. But sometimes you can get a guru through a Black Friday sale also. Like people like me, floodgates are open. It's like the TCS Infosys, they open the recruitment, right? The season is come in, everybody. So people like us get graced, okay, without any eligibility. That can happen too, but however it happens, it's a great thing. It's a great milestone in life. So I don't know. I mean, for you, you might have an eligibility. For me, it's a Black Friday sale offer that I got sniffed out of. But regardless, I think we are all in the same boat now. Yeah. Okay. Are we good then?
Smith, the comment by Smitaji's main obstacle was Sanskrit language. It was not accessible for all. Gyaneshwari Maharaj translated it Marathi with lots of analogies and was made available to all. Secondly, the focus was on bhakti. But focus of Gita is not navruti but urvruti. I'm pronouncing it wrong.
Okay, may I have to explain me Uvriti versus Avriti. That was a little high concept for me, lofty concept for me. But yeah, Sanskrit should not be an impediment. You can come across the translation, The Song of God from Swami Mukundanand. You pick that book and it'll just flow like a river. Very, very logically, nice analogies. The concepts will just stick. It's not like a concept is very lofty and esoteric and you can't even map it to your real life and how to apply it in your day to day. Everything will start falling. Or you keep attending the sessions, because I take that book as a reference and then take it a step further by visual illustrations, graphs, and all that stuff, right? So you keep attending it, every concept will stick. It's just a matter of time. Okay. And we reiterate it so much, go back and forth so much that the fundamental the concepts that you need to know would be reiterated enough times for you to be able to at least theoretically get a good hang of it. Yes. All right. So with that said, let's move to our final segment, the devotional segment. If you still have questions, please fill out the feedback tracker. I believe it has already been posted. Let's make a couple of quick announcements and then we move to our devotional segments where we're going to take this beautiful bhajan and do some chanting, maybe pick up a few hands around it. Any quick announcements, big announcements, or small announcements, or announcements?
The big announcement is the tracker has been posted. But I will again post the tracker.
Mm-hmm. Okay, tracker has been. Is that the only announcement today?
You want small announcements?
You
All right.
announced me.
Okay.
Okay. I mean,
Shivratri coming up. Okay, from March 8th to March 10th, and we have a lot of good
Holi.
cultural holy. Okay, I'll just reserve that for now.
Yes, Shivratri celebrations. We will be having online celebrations also. So please do join us for that. All the details will be in the website.
And I think there's going to be a lot of chantings planned for Mahashivratri. The chantings will go throughout the night or into the wee hours of the
Jagaran.
Jagaran. And there are going to be other cultural activities, I believe, as well, some dance performance and stuff like that. So look forward to that. And
This time we have Kavadis.
Kavod.
Kavadi Yatra. Kavad Yatra.
Yeah.
Okay. Kavad Yatra. Yeah, Kavad Yatra. And Kavad
First
Yatra is very
time
nice. Please do plan to attend.
of our temple, I guess.
So we are going to celebrate Lord Shiva's birthday with, no, not birthday, with great pomp and show. Mahashivratri rather, okay. Okay, no more announcements from my side. Please go ahead. Let's move to our devotional segment then.
Should I go?
Yes, go ahead, Sandhya.
सुमिरन कर ले मना छिन छिन राधा रमणा सुमिरन कर ले मना छिन छिन राधा रमणा दे दे आंसू मूल्य मना ले ले पिय प्रेम धना मांगो वर एक मना दे दो हरि प्रेम धना सुमिरन 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 कर ले मना छिन छिन राधा रमणा.
Very nice, Sandhya. Thank you for teeing off this segment. Who's the next hand, Amritawani?
We have Meenuji. Go ahead, please.
When do we get to listen you, Amritawani ji? Tell me that. Okay, you need to prepare as well. Yes, Meenuji, please go ahead.
राधे राधे
Radhe Radhe.
सुमिरन कर ले मना छिन छिन राधा रमना दे दे आंसू मूल्य मना ले ले प्रिय प्रेम धना मांगो वर एक मना दे दो हरि प्रेम घना सुमिरन कर ले मना छिन छिन राधा रमना.
Very nice, Meenuji. Thank you. Today we don't have Shyamji, the usual suspect here. All right, maybe not. All right.
Thank you, Meenuji. Manisha ji.
And Shyamji, there you go. And Michelle, you should try it out as well. I think we do have English words as well. You could give it a shot as well if you try. So, yes.
Honestly, maybe some repetition, like kind of that. I mean, I also don't think because, maybe I don't want to pronounce it wrong. So if somebody goes, maybe if they wish to, Michelle or somebody else.
That's okay. Will Michelle, are you saying Michelle will give you confidence to pronounce it differently? That's okay. You can go ahead. All right, Manisha ji, go ahead, please.
Go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Mhm.
सुमिरन कर ले मना छिन छिन राधा रमन सुमिरन कर ले मना छिन छिन राधा रमन दे दे आंसू मैया मना ले ले पिया प्रेम धन मांगो वर एक मना दे दो हरि प्रेम धन सुमिरन 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 कर ले मना छीन छीन राधा रमना.
Very nice,
Radhe
Manisha.
Radhe.
Radhe, thank you very much. Pratyusha ji, go ahead, Pratyusha.
राधे राधे. सुमिरन कर ले मना छिन छिन राधा रमना सुमिरन कर ले मना छिन छिन राधा रमना दे दे आंसू मूल्य मना ले ले पिया प्रेम धना मांगो वर एक मना दे दो हरि प्रेम धना. राधे राधे.
Very nice. Thank you, Pratyusha. Swati ji, please go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. सुमिरन कर ले मना छिन छिन राधा रमना दे दे आंसू मूल्य मना ले ले पिया प्रेम धना मांगो वर एक मना दे दो हरि प्रेम धना सुमिरन कर ले मना छिन छिन राधा रमना. Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe, very nice. Thank you, Swati ji. I see a new hand, Kanchan, today. So, Kanchan, where are you joining us from?
Kanchan. Yeah, go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. I am joined from Portland, Oregon.
Portland. Have you been joining?
Yeah, yes, not recently because of some conflict in the time, but I have joined past sessions. Yeah.
Please go ahead. Go ahead, please. I think you're raising your hand for the first time, so please go ahead.
सुमिरन कर ले मना छिन छिन राधा मना देते आंसू मूल्य मना ले ले पिया प्रेम धना मांगो वर एक मना दे तो हरि प्रेम धना सुमिरन कर ले मना छिन छिन राधा रमना.
Very nice.
Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Kanchan ji, for taking initiative. And you get the best debut female award today. Okay. Congratulations for that.
Thank you.
All right. Let's move on. Let's take the faces before hands. So over to you, Amrutamani ji. I don't know to call out any names.
I'll give it to Aparna ji.
Yes, Aparna.
Go ahead.
Radhe Radhe everyone. सुमिरन कर ले मना छिन छिन राधा रमना दे दे आंसू मूल्य मना ले ले पिया प्रेम धना मांगो वर एक मना दे दो हरि प्रेम धना सुमिरन 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 कर ले मना छिन छिन राधा रमना. Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
You, Aparna ji. Very, very nice. All right. Let's take the last two hands for the day.
Ganesh ji. Go ahead.
Radha Nitin ji, can I sing other Sankirtan which is written by Sri Maharaj Ji Siddhanta Madhuri?
No, 2 minutes. Let's restrict it to 2 minutes. If it is not this one that we are doing here.
Yeah, let me give it to Shyamji then, and then you can go.
You want to restrict it to 2 minutes if it is not this bhajan. So please go ahead.
Yeah. Radhe Radhe. Thank you so much. सुमिरन कर ले मना छिन छिन राधा रमना सुमिरन कर ले मना छिन छिन राधा रमना दे दे आंसू मूल्य मना ले ले प्रिय प्रेम धना मांगो वर एक मना दे दो हरि प्रेम धना सुमिरन 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 कर ले मना छिन छिन राधा रमना राधे 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 राधे.
Very nice, Shyamji. Thank you. So we have Riya ji has changed her mind today as well. All right, Riya ji, go ahead quickly. And then we can have Sumesh go for 2 minutes, whichever bhajan is going to do before we wrap up.
Thank you so much. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe.
सुमिरन कर ले मना छिन छिन राधा रमना दे दे आंसू मूल्य मना ले ले पिया प्रेम धना मांगो वर एक मना दे दो हरि प्रेम धना सुमिरन 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 कर ले मना छिन छिन राधा रमना. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe, thank you. Please go ahead, Sumesh ji. Thank you. Very nicely
Thank
done.
you for waiting, Sumesh. Please go ahead.
Yes, Sumesh ji, please. Sumesh, go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. भाई भानुलली हमारे मन भाई भानु लली हमारे मान भरी गुमान दीवार डोलती जानत जग पगली हमारे मन भाई भानु लली हमारे मन लोक वेद कुल कानी तजी सब लोग कहाँ बिटली हमारे मन भाई भानु लली हमारे मन कर्म अकर्म विकर्म आदि की विपदा आपुटली हमारे मन भाई भानु लली राधे नाम सरस रस चाखत अमृत मधुर डली हमारे मन भाई भानु लली हमारे मन
All right. Thank you, Sumeshi. So with that, we come to the end of our session today. Maybe I can do quick recitation as well, and then we can wrap it up. Basically, this shloka is not, this lines are talking about purchase the priceless treasure of divine love by paying the price of your tears. Oh, my mind, ask God only for the boon of divine love. Now, I think we've spoken about this concept, right? When you feel even the semblance of divine love, because it is something that your soul cannot negate, the tears are an automatic consequence of it, a natural byproduct of it. So and the more the tears come out, the more the cleansing process is fast tracked. That is why if you see some people who are crying their hearts out when some of these bhajans are going on, they are not weirdos for sure. Okay, they are actually feeling something, which is how it's meant to be felt. And Maharaji said these tears are very powerful, but they don't come so easy. So if it comes to you, make the most use of it, and they can fast track the cleansing process, whatever. So let's do that quickly. I'll take those couple of lines and then we'll wrap it up. सुमिरन कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमना, दे दे आंसू मूल्य मना, ले ले पिय प्रेम धना, मांगो वर एक मना, दे दो हरि प्रेम धना, सुमिरन 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 कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमना. Okay, so thank you everyone. We had a pretty extended session today, but we'll continue on our discussion tomorrow on the topic of Bhagavad Gita, and also how do we face problems. We'll continue on our Soul Soup segment as well. And thank you again for your enthusiastic participation, and more specifically for all of you who turned their videos on. That always helps to drive the engagement, and it's always good for me to see the faces here as well. So thank you again. Radhe Radhe, good night, good day from my side. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Bye.